So I know there's not a ton of information out there on amplified mandolin setups. And so when I went down this path a few months ago, I really had to do like some deep diving on forums, see what people are using, what they're happy with, what's been working out. And a lot of gear has changed in the last 10 years. So a lot of it was irrelevant anyway. I thought I'd make a quick video in the case that it might help 20 or 30 people sometime down the road. A big part of this video is going to focus on the Line 6 Helix, which you can see beside me over here to the side. This is it's a digital modeler. It's a hugely important part of the sound for acoustic instruments, especially when all you have to work with is a piezo pickup. You can load impulse responses, EQ, compression. Think about, you're perfecting your sound, right? Especially if you're a multi-instrumentalist. Take your instruments, put them into here. You can save a couple different presets in it for acoustic guitar, mandolin, maybe you're a fiddle player or a banjo player, ukulele, whatever. You save a preset for that instrument. You make sure they're all at the same volume. When you roll up to a gig, you just have one line to check, right? You hand the sound guy a line and say, this is the perfect tone that I've come up with, hopefully. Don't do anything to it. Don't put any EQ, any weird compression stuff that's going to ruin it, right? Because normally we're up to kind of the mercy of sound guys when we just go direct with a pickup, right? With this, we're doing all the processing, hopefully getting a really good sound, sending it their way and saying, look, all you got to do is just work the levels. That's it. Please don't do anything else. And so that's kind of my philosophy here with why I use the Helix for my acoustic instruments. I do a lot of pit musicals, and lately I've been playing with an acoustic band as well. So anyway, let's just start with the mandolin, I guess. It's just a kind of a cheaper model. It's the Eastman 405 or something. It's a 400 series mandolin, well under $1,000. Just an oval sound hole. And that's all there is to it. I want to talk about the pickup a little bit. This is basically a temporary pickup. This is what I came across. It was an easy addition. I didn't have to do any routing or anything. And it's been working out well. I did get the K&K mandolin equivalent of the Pure Mini. I've got the Pure Mini in my HD28. I've had it there for the last 2 years-ish maybe, and I've been really happy with it. And so what this pickup is essentially two capacitors sitting on the underside of the body that's routed to the output jack. That'll be installed soon. I'll do a video on that. But right now, what I've been using for the last few months, and as you can hear, it sounds fine mostly, is this Klingon pickup. So if we head to Amazon, it's only sold on Amazon, unfortunately, and you look it up, you'll find this thing, also the K&K Pure Mini. It kind of operates on the same principle. It's a piezo transducer that reads the vibrations of the top. It's going to sound a lot more natural than a pickup that's just simply in the bridge of the instrument. So we've got this one. You're also going to notice a couple products that look basically exactly like it, that are a lot cheaper, and I'll explain the differences here. If you're someone with an old instrument or you don't want to make any modifications to it, this has been sounding great. The difference with this Klingon pickup, and I know it's like $45 or something more, the fact that this is made to work with magnets. So these cheaper ones are meant to actually, they're going to stick to the top of the instrument. They've got adhesive, and that could damage the top of the instrument, obviously. So I went with this one. It's magnetic, essentially. So with this, you're going to get a magnet that you attach to the underside of the top of the guitar, mandolin. I've got a magnet on the inside of my jazz guitar that I use this with as well. I've actually got a second one. And you attach the magnet with putty to the inside of the instrument, and then it just simply attaches there. It stays there. When you're done with it, you just take it off. It's like it's never there. So that works really well. I definitely recommend spending some time finding the best placement for the pickup to go. For me, it was just behind the bridge, not touching the bridge, but close enough that it almost looks like it's touching. That's what works anyway for what I do. So we've got the pickup that heads out through this cable, connects to another standard 1/4 inch, and eventually ends up in the Helix. So if we're going to talk about the Helix briefly, and by the way, all the equipment I'm mentioning in this video is going to be linked in the description. I earn a small commission if you buy through it. Zounds is a partner of mine, and specifically if you buy the Helix through Zounds, just send me an email and I can hook you up with my entire preset library. We're closing in on almost 100 presets, a ton of impulse responses. But yeah, anyway, more on that on my website if you want to read about it. The Helix. This is the HX Stomp XL. It is the second model up from their cheapest one. I do have the cheapest one. I had that for a while, but then this came out. This was actually a prototype that Line 6 sent me to test it out. And this has been working really well. This is about $750. And what I use this for, like I mentioned earlier, is just to shape the sound of my instrument and send the sound guy a feed that he doesn't have to alter in any way. So I've got a custom impulse response here that I created. I actually have a full video if you want to read about how to do that on your own setup. I've got a preamp. That's just kind of for fun, that phaser and the filter. I've got a compressor that's always on here, some delay if I wanted to turn it on, and then a reverb that's always on. So I'm turning everything off right now. This is just the pickup as it sounds. So now I'm going to turn on the impulse response that I'd created a few months ago. This is not technically an IR, rather it is a match EQ. It's a very specific EQ curve that I've created. Essentially, I've played the mandolin through a pickup and I've played the mandolin mic'd. I compare the sounds and I create a very specific EQ curve to make the pickup sound a little bit more like the mic'd signal. And this is what it sounds like with the IR. A little bit better, right? And then we add some compression here. And then lastly, a preamp that simulates like a tube-style microphone preamp. It warms up the sound a little bit, applies a little bit of natural compression here, just makes it sound a little bit smoother. So briefly, I'm going to turn off all this modeling. You can hear what the pickup sounds like by itself again. Now I'm going to turn on the IR, the preamp, and the compression. It should also be noted that I'm muting this mic every single time that I record here so that you're not hearing the actual acoustic sound of the mandolin through it. Anyway, so that's the dry tone. I have snapshots here. Snapshot 1 you've been listening to is more for kind of lighter playing. It's got a little bit more natural sustain, and I boosted the volume to compete with Snapshot 2, which is going to be the one that I use most of the time. This is for really heavy-handed rhythm stuff. Snapshot 3 is going to be a solo boost, just a little bit of boost in volume, a little bit more compression. And then lastly, Snapshot 4 is kind of one that I don't use all that often. This has 4 snapshots, so I built it in anyway, though I rarely use it. It's just got a little bit of distortion here from the mic preamp. So let's put it back to Snapshot 2, which is what I use most of the time, and I can talk about some of the effects here. As you've been listening to the Helix, that's just used for shaping the sound so we get a good signal heading to the sound guy. A lot of the time, I'll add in a little bit of delay just to fill out the sound a little bit. It's not something that in a band mix stands out all that much. And here's the model I'm using. It's based on like a tape style delay. These are all the settings I use for that. And the secret here is just a low mix that's not really getting in the way too much. I can turn that down even further if I wanted to. So let's turn that off. I'm going to switch to this delay here. So this is a separate setup. This is going to be much more noticeable, higher mix. And I actually have it rigged up with the tap tempo here. If I want something that specifically has like a tempo to it. Yeah. And then a little bit of phaser. I do use that one relatively often, believe it or not. And then the auto-wah to fake the Jerry thing. That usually gets a few people grinning in the audience. So that's the preset that I use. Basically, if you have any questions, if you're a Helix user, I do have this mandolin preset coming in my preset library. Give me a month or two. I'm doing an entire overhaul of the acoustic folder. So if you had purchased that preset library in the past, it's free updates for life. If you've not gotten the HX Stomp yet and you're thinking of it, and you also want my presets, I mentioned this earlier, buy through Zounds. Do me a favor, buy through Zounds. I'll get the affiliate commission, and in return, I'll just send you the presets instead. Zounds is a really great company. They've been sponsoring me, sponsoring this channel, helping me do what I do. And so, yeah, just kind of want to advertise that. So thanks for checking out the video. If it was helpful, you know what to do. Hit the like button. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel. There's a lot of talk about gear. I will have a demo coming out soon of this. I'm using it to support my camera because I don't have a little tripod. But I'm going to have a demo soon of this pickup once I get it in the Mandolin. I also have this sweet Myers pickup, which is actually a microphone that outputs a high impedance unbalanced signal, so you can use it just as you would any pickup with your pedals, your digital modeler, whatever you want to use. And that's a really great piece too. We can hear that on Mandolin someday maybe. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.
The devil done caught me there. He took my $20 bill and vanished in thin air. Said I'm running, but I take my time. Friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight.